Okay, we get ready to start this here.
Give us free. Give us free. Give us free.
Your Honor, please instruct the defendant that he cannot disrupt these proceedings with such outbursts.
Give us free.
If we are to have any semblance of order in this affair.
Give us
Mod Hotep, and welcome my conscious and unconscious family and peeps. This is the African Village Community Podcast, and I am truly your host of the show, JC, aka Afro Black, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut, without any fear, as I use my mic as a spear to chucka you with liberated truth. I am your host and African soldier in the struggle. My purpose and mission for this show is first to inform, enlighten, and engage. And you all know what I mean by engage. I want to engage with all those who claim they know the truth. All truth seekers and conscious family, I welcome you. This show is dedicated to all our ancient ancestors and to all those who have carried the mantle of truth. To every person with the ability to throw off the chains of comfortable habit and unwarranted assumption and move in a new, liberated direction that is guided by truth and observational evidence. No matter where that direction may lead you, my main objective and purpose here is freedom, mind, soul, and spirit. That being said, welcome to the African Village Community Podcast, and much love from our great universal African goddess and mother of all, living here and above. Ashe and Ashe.
DC in the house.
Come on. They say, please do not run too fast, stay off of the leaves. Do not play in the grass or climb the trees. You can't breathe, let alone you get stung by bees. Lord Jesus, your chest just might freeze up. 13 months old with a lung disease that almost took my life twice, brought me to my knees. A system not designed for you to achieve. Police squeeze, library lies, the teacher deceives. But I rose to the top of my class like Kareem. I like the Lakers in the 80s, so worthy I'm Kareem. Not MTV, but my sweet 16s. Married the mic, a love supreme. I'm clear it was a miracle the way I wedded the rhythm. Spiritual looking back at it, a lyrical exorcism. I had for the Afro-American dream. The rap or quarterback for a professional team. I'm still standing. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still standing.
my mic was off. I didn't know my mic was. I am here. My mic was off. This is the Black Village Community Podcast. This is JCK, aka Afro Black. I am here with you for another delicious Black Sunday. I ask you to forgive me for that little pause in my my microphone was not clicked on. So I'm here. I'm Black. I am back here at the Black Village Community Podcast. My Black Village Community Podcast here to drop nothing but the raw and uncut here to my conscious community. And so today's podcast topic is a continuation of last week's podcast, which is titled The Reason the Black Native American female can't keep a relationship. Again, the reason the Black Native American female can't keep a relationship. And this is a continuation of last week's podcast topic. Subject matter. It's a very important subject matter I think we should focus in on. I think we should verberate and talk about. It has a whole lot to do with our history, has a whole lot to do with our relationships, present and past, has a whole lot to do with truth. And so this is the very reason why I want to focus in on this subject matter. And so I ask you guys to forgive me. There was a pause there for a minute. My microphone was not clicked on, but I am here. I am back. I am Black to continue this subject matter from last week's. And my queen is here with me as well to verberate on this. Queen, you want to holler at the community?
Hello, my beautiful people.
Okay, wait a minute. I think your mic was off. Go ahead again. Do it again, Queen. I think my microphone was off. Go ahead so the conscious community can hear you.
I said, hello, my beautiful people.
Okay, I'm having issues with my mic and stuff, clicking it on and it's staying on and on, but we getting it together. And last week we was talking about this subject matter, this podcast subject matter, which is the reason Native American Black females can't keep a relationship. And when people hear the subject matter or hear the topic of the podcast, first thing you think is you're talking about the relationship between the male and the female. But this subject matter, the cancer that's eating at the Black community in reference to relationships, it goes past the man. It goes past that. Would you agree, Queen?
Absolutely. It goes beyond the relationship between her and a man, or it goes to the relationship between her and her mother, to the relationship between her sisters, her family.
Exactly. And that's why this is important. And I think a lot of people, they don't get deep like that. They don't want to get deep like that. But you know what? If you don't understand what happened, if you don't understand the truth and the integrity of the truth, I say integrity of the truth because there's a lot of things out there that's given to us in partials. In other words, we don't have the full truth. We only have a piece of the truth, or we only have half of the truth, or we have less than half of the truth. But the integrity of the truth is when you got all of it, when you have the wholeness, when you have as much as possible or as much that is there. And so when you don't have all of the truth, when truth is being jeopardized because the integrity of the person that's given it is not honest or not truthful or manipulating, that hurts. That hurts the person who's looking for the truth. That hurts the person who's looking for knowledge. And so this is the reason why the Black community constantly and continues to recycle the same crap all the time, talking about the same thing without talking about the root of the issue, without talking about the root and the cause of the issue that's affecting the Black community. And so I want to talk about that, Queen. Anything you want to reference to before we go deep into this thing here?
No, let's get into it.
Okay. Today, let me also comment on the intro to the show, which is conscious rapper Pharaoh Monarch. That's called I'm Still Standing. And the reason why I want to play that to start the show off is because, the Native Black women have been through hell. Okay? And I'm not talking about the African Black woman. I'm not talking about African people. I'm talking about Native Black people who are native to North America. Black folks who are part of the Native indigenous family. That's what I'm talking about. Most Black people don't even know that they are connected to, and I say connected, I mean genetically connected. That we are the descendants of the indigenous original North American, Native American people of North America. And so I'm talking about those black people, which happens to make up 90% of black people in America who knows that their family were slaves in this country. You feel me? And so speaking to that from that aspect, I want to talk about today the destruction of indigenous matriarchy. I said last week that our people originally were a matriarchal people. Even African people originally were matriarchal. Okay? And I'm only mentioning that even though I'm talking to my native black people of the North American hemisphere, us in North America. I'm making reference to that because you got so many black people who are African conscious. So you can't run from matriarchy, even if you go to if you want to know the truth of Africa. It was rooted from its beginnings, from the rooter to the tutor, in matriarchy. Now today you would never know that, but matriarchy is an important aspect of what make a people who they are and what they were. Would you agree, Queen? Okay, I hope my queen is still there. Are you there, Queen, still in the conference room?
I am still here.
Okay.
Kind of zoned into what you're saying. Sorry.
All right, now, so I got 3 things I want to focus on in reference to what we're going to be talking about in the destruction of the indigenous matriarchy. And this has everything to do with the female relationships. This has everything to do with the broken female relationships. This has everything to do with the fact that the family being broken itself, because you know what? The family can't be a family without family relationships. And the first relationship you have is with your mother. And so,
yep.
Let's start with, 3 aspects. I want to start with part 1. The broken sacred circle, okay? Which at one time existed amongst women. The sacred female circle is severely broken and desperately needs a reconnection and resurgence of female oneness to resurrect the centerpiece of the family, and that is the source of life, the mother, the maiden, the crone. The true strength of the tribe, as it was the responsibility of Native females to teach and pass oral tradition to the family. What do you think, Queen?
Wow.
Truth to that, huh? Truth to that. It was the women that it was the women that preserved history. It was the women who preserved knowledge. It was the women that preserved the knowledge of agriculture, the knowledge of sacred ceremonies and sacred rituals. It was the women that preserved this knowledge and passed it to children, passed it to their husbands, passed it to their relatives. That circle has been broken. As a result, today, women are passing a lot of negativity. Women are passing a lot of patriarchy. Women are passing a lot of disconnection and don't even realize that they're doing it. You feel me? Because they're not operating in the original feminine divine principle that was structured for them from the very beginning of our native ancestors. You feel me? 2. So,
yeah.
Part 1, the broken sacred circle. The woman's sacred circle have been broken. Her circle of sisterhood, her circle of family. Beginning with the circle of principles that was given to her to hand down from family to family. Not just hand down, but to exemplify in her very being, in her very existence, in her very life. Now, part 2, the broken female image. The image of the native indigenous female was honored throughout the entire native community, and becoming a mother automatically rendered this position to a native female, which meant that she knew and comprehended what it meant to be the very physical image of the source of life to her people. This honored image of the Native American black female was destroyed in the minds of Native American females, as she was seen at one time in Native history as the source of life and the physical image of the goddess from the spiritual perspective. And this gave and lent to the honorable position Native American females held in the clans and that of the tribes. This honor, position, and image was buried and recreated by patriarchy, and by doing so, this destroyed the Native American black female's matriarchal mindset and view by respect for the entire female race, starting with her own native mother and the female clan. What do you think, Queen?
Wow.
Now, I want you to know, due to me doing some reading, and I didn't want to do a whole lot of reading on books and stuff like that, but due to what I've read, this is what I've seen. This is what came to my heart. I put this together, and this is what I've seen. I'm gonna bring some validity to this due to some more information that I've just read on the Willie Lynch letters. Now I want to go to part 3. Part 3, the broken female leadership. The leadership of the Native mother is broken, and the influential feminine power of the indigenous Native American black female once had over the family and that of the tribal clan has been and was omitted from their livelihood and customary practices through chattel slavery, and the slavery then the system of patriarchy itself. The robbery of the Native American indigenous female's sacred customs of matriarchy have caused her to be weakened and has recycled within her psyche as she embraces the only thing she sees, and that's patriarchy. You get it? These are the three things that the black woman is suffering from when it comes to her relationships. Basically, her matriarchy customs.
I have to agree with that.
Yes. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Anything you want to conclude on this? Okay. Now, in this, I want to bring in, okay, before I read this, which is the Willie Lynch letters. And I truly believe that a lot of people, not everybody, but I think a lot of people have not read the Willie Lynch letters in its entirety. I think they've read it fragmented. I mean, I've read it fragmented myself, you know. A lot of times when you go try to download it, you'll get it, you think you're getting the complete version of the Willie Lynch letters. I mean, every page and every written aspect of it, but a lot of times what you find out what you're getting is you're only getting what they want you to have, which is only a portion or a piece of it. But you can go get the actual entire Willie Lynch letters online at, I believe, Archive History or Archive Library. You can download it in its entirety. So I want to read that, which is the breaking process of the Native female. Now they call it, if you go get it, it's going to say the breaking process of the African woman, and that's a lie, because this was not aimed at the African woman. This was not meant for the African woman. This was meant for and aimed at the Native American black female, the indigenous Native American black female, the original female of the North American hemisphere here in North America. That's what the breaking process was meant for. That's who it was started on. That's who it was perfected on. And that's who is suffering from it to this day. Would you agree, Queen?
Absolutely.
Okay, so before I go into reading this, I think I should play a track. And this is, I believe we've heard this track before by that sister. By her name is Dr. Let me get her name again. Wow, I can barely pronounce her name. Dr. Joy, how you pronounce her last name? Joy DeGruy. Is that right? Dr. Joy DeGruy? Dr. Joy DeGruy Leary. Okay. Who wrote the book titled Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. Okay. And so I want to play this again, and then I want to read the Willie Lynch letters, something that I think a lot of people have not paid attention to, which is working in our sisters and in our black queens today, which they're suffering from. Okay? Our people are seriously suffering from an identity crisis. And what I mean by identity crisis, because if you don't know who you are, you don't know what your culture is. And if you don't know what your culture is, you don't know what you're supposed to be. If you don't know what you're supposed to be, you're going to grab on to whatever is in your atmosphere, whatever's feeding you what it wants you to know and what it wants to tell you who you are. And that's what's happened to the black woman over here. And you know what? The white devil wanted the process to be embedded, to be permanent, to affect future generations. And it worked on his behalf. You know, you got these house niggas running around today talking about the Willie Lynch letters are not real. You got the white devils running around perpetuating that, and they send their house niggas out there to reaffirm it. But regardless of what these house niggas and these white devils want to say to cover up the tracks of what the white devil has done, the after effects, the aftermath, the results of what these letters talk about are what we're seeing right before our very eyes on a daily basis, in our neighborhoods and in our families, in our communities and on our jobs, specifically with our black, indigenous, native black women. So in that, I want to play this track by Sister Dr. DeGroy Leary from her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And it's going to speak to, in reference to what I'm going to read in just a minute. So let's take it from there, and we will be right back.
So I think on one point, African people and people of African descent are extremely resilient. Matter of fact, I think we're a miracle. Far be it for us to pathologize or to look and cast this idea of weak and sick people. Oh, on the contrary, I'm profoundly resilient because we've done everything we've done thus far with no help, with not even the ability to have this discussion. As though it were possible, we escaped injury in all those hundreds of years and the years that follow. So this kind of journey I'm going to take you on is going to be one that really gives a perspective on what this trauma was, what it looks like, and clinically, what is post-traumatic stress disorder? What does it look like? Now, let me give you a little snapshot. We'll get into it in more depth a little later. But post-traumatic stress disorder, if in fact you are diagnosed with that, again, remember, direct or indirect trauma, here are some of the symptoms. A feeling of foreshortened future. Now, what does that mean? A feeling, well, you're not going to live long. How many of you are running into young people that don't believe they're going to make it past their 20s? Feeling of foreshortened future. Exaggerated startle response. Outbursts of anger. Difficulty falling or staying asleep. Hypervigilance. Right? These are symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. This is like DSM stuff, Diagnostic Statistical Manual Mental Disorders. It's in there. And there's a whole listing of all these symptoms. Now, I want to roll it back so you can understand what the transmission theory is, because I'm going to talk about transmission. So how does a person that's been traumatized by post-traumatic, literally has a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, and can we, if we are logical and we are reasonable people, assume that a fair number of Africans had to have had post-traumatic stress disorder? You think? I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about them. Untreated, though, right? Okay, so now let's do the math. Mom, who saw dad sold or sister raped, has post-traumatic stress disorder. Still mom, though, right? Only mom now has outbursts of anger, feeling of foreshortened future, difficulty falling or staying asleep, hypervigilance. That would be mom. Now, Johnny or Mary or Shaquisha did not have the original trauma. But what are they learning? This is called social learning theory. What am I normalizing? Exaggerated startle response, outbursts of anger. Are you following me? So I didn't have to be traumatized. Now, the other thing is, do you think Johnny and Mary got traumatized too? Do you see? So what happens in your environment, you learn from the significant others in your environment. And if they're broken, guess what you're going to be? You're learning from broken people. And you're normalizing that behavior. And then it becomes, years later, 2008, that's their culture.
There you go. You heard it right there. Dr. DeGruy dropping it off. Joey DeGruy dropping the truth, dropping the raw and uncut. A chain that has not been broken in the black community that we're still suffering from to this day. I grew up in a family, and my mother, my grandmother, they talk loud. They have outbursts of anger, no knowledge, no patience, no intelligence. Everything has to go their way or no way. And if you don't take it their way, if you don't agree with them, you're against them. And this is the trait in the black family. Now, if you go read her book, buy her book, or download a portion of her book from the internet, and you'll see what she's talking about. You will see exactly what Dr. Joy is talking about. This trait in the family. And it starts with the mother. She focused in on the mother when she did this. When she just broke down a part of post-traumatic slave syndrome. You feel me? So, and what most people don't know, because in this patriarchal society, they always want to talk about what's going on with the man. They don't do too much focusing on the woman. You got more and more of it now coming out today. What happened to the female slave on the plantation. And, but they don't really get in, it's like they really want to focus on the fact that she was raped. But they don't really talk about the mental, that's traumatic too. Rape is traumatic, and that was definitely used as a tool to break the black woman. But there were a number of tools that was used to break the black woman. But the end result was a traumatic result that affected her behavior, due to the fact of her not knowing her cultural past or her cultural identity, her cultural language. And so this is where I want to focus in at right now on the Willie Lynch letters. Okay. Now, I want you to know, as I speak, most people think when they hear this, this is the African. Look, that's another slave input by white people into our psyche, that this happened to Africans. No, this happened to native peoples, indigenous native peoples. Okay. I want to read this right here. It's called The Breaking Process of the Native Female. I want to start right here on this paragraph. I'm not going to start at the very beginning. It says, therefore, we shall go deeper into the area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in the breaking of the female nigger. We have reversed the relationship. Look what he said. We have reversed the relationship. In her natural, uncivilized state, she would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male. Now, mind you, what they're saying there, because you got to look at, these are white devils. And the white devil is totally patriarchal. So he believed that the woman totally depended on the man. There is some truth to that, because in the Native American culture, there was a balance. There was actually more reliance on the female than it was the male. But both positions were honored and respected because the male was the physical strength. That's why he was the warrior. He was the hunter, the gatherer. And then there was a reliance on the woman when it came to agriculture, nurturing the children, keeping the ceremonies, keeping the oral traditions of the family alive, making sure the children knew those traditions by the time they were, was time for them to go through the rite of passage. They already knew a great deal through their mothers and grandmothers and their aunties and their relatives who kept these customs taught to the children. So let me go back to what I was reading. In her natural uncivilized state, she would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male. And she would have a limited protective dependency towards her independent male offspring, and would raise female offspring to be dependent like her. See, look, he said dependent like her. So they understood that it was the woman was the source. They basically talking about it's the mother that's going to teach the children. That's what they're basically saying right there. They say she would have a limited protective dependency towards her independent male offspring, and would raise her offspring to be dependent like her. Then it goes further. Nature have provided this type of balance. These white devils knew. They knew that these native black people had lived in balance. They knew this was a balance between them. They knew that they respected one another's position. They knew that the woman was just as, if not more. And I want you to know the Native American men looked at the female more. That's why those Native American men was willing to lay their lives down for the women, for the queen mothers, for the sisters, for the daughters. They were willing to lay their lives down, not just because they were taught to be the protectors of the tribe, but because they knew that without the woman, the family, the tribe, the clan could not continue. So let me continue on. It says, continue this. It says, we reverse nature by burning and dependent like her. Nature had provided this type of balance. We reverse nature by burning and pulling one civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death. All in her presence. To break her down. All in her presence. Then it says, go further. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her physical dependent state to a frozen dependent state. Frozen. Now she's stuck. She don't know to go left or right, front or back. She don't know what to do, where to go. And what they're not telling you in this as well is due to the fact of her culture being taken from her, her language being taken from her, her identity being taken from her through the process of chattel slavery. And then killing her protector, killing her warrior, killing her husband, killing her brother, killing her uncle, killing her grandfather. Now she feels unprotected. So now she's in a frozen state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in the reverse roles. I'm like, do you hear this, Queen? It said now she. It says now in this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. Why? Because the white devil's going to teach her another way. Let me read a little bit more. It says, for fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train. Look what it said. Because she's learned to be psychologically independent. In other words, now I don't want people to think. See, from a patriarchal perspective, you're thinking, oh, she totally depended on her males. She totally depended on a man. You got to realize that the Native American black female knew who she was. She understood that she was the source of life. She understood that she was the image of life itself. She understood that she had a purpose. She understood what that purpose was. She understood her ceremonies, her rituals, her rites. She understood what she was to do and how to operate with her husband, with her children, with her fellow sisters and mothers, as the women all worked in a group and worked together for the survival and for the strength and for the purpose of the family. That was taken from her. So when you take that from her, so now you've taken away her balance. So now the only independent thing she has is what she's been taught. This is why it says now because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent as well. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. This is perfect. This is perfect situation for sound sleep and economics. Before the breaking process, we had to be alert and on guard at all times. Now you can sleep soundly. Talking about the white man. Now the white devil can sleep soundly. For out of frozen fear, his women stand guards for us. Woo! Did you hear that? For us. In other words, now the black woman is looking out for us. He cannot get past her early infant slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. By the time the nigger boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of a good labor force. So that right there. Now I also want to go down here, and there's another part to this I think is really important to read to the conscious community as well. As I said, right here in the St. Willie Lynch letters, I'm still in the Willie Lynch letters. This is titled possible interlooping negatives. And he reads like this. Earlier, we talked about the non-economic good of the horse and the nigger in their wild or natural state. We talked of the principle of breaking and tying them together for orderly production. Furthermore, we talked about paying particular attention to the female savage and her offspring for orderly future planning. Then more recently, we started that by reversing the position of the male and female savage, we had created an orbiting cycle that turns on itself on its own axis forever. Again, let me read that part again. It says, by reversing the position of the male and female savage, we had created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless phenomenon occurred and reshift the position of the male and female savage. Our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring, for they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time, if it can touch some substantial original historical base. And they advise us that the best way to deal with the phenomenon is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomenon or an illusion, so that each illusion will twirl on its own orbit, something akin to floating balls in a vacuum. My goodness. Listen to that there. Look at what these white devils talking about. Basically confusing things to a degree. So confused, so intertwined, so mixed up, so strung together, so cut up, so mixed up, so messed up, that you don't know your left from your right, you don't know your right from your left, you don't know your front from your back, you don't know where you come from, you don't know how you got here, you don't know who you are, you don't know nothing about yourself, you're lost. That's what's saying. That's what these white devils did to our people. And as a result today, they've been teaching us since our people were free from physical bondage, so to speak. They've been telling us that we're from Africa. They've been telling us that we are descendants of Africans. They've been telling us that our homeland is across the Pacific, which is a lie. A lie. A lie from their mama. A lie from their mama's mama. A lie from their mama's mama's mama, from where the she-devil came from. That's where the lie came from. And look what they just said, though. Look, I mean, if you're listening to what I'm reading to you, this is all a mental game. And what is the best game to play? This country at one time was populated and filled with over 500 native nations. 500 indigenous native nations. Not tribes, I said nations. Each nation was a confederacy. Each confederacy could have anywhere from hundreds to thousands of tribes within that nation. And there were over 500 nations in this country. That means there were millions of indigenous native tribes in this country. Where did they go? Where did they go? Oh, they all died off by disease and war? Lie. Because if that's the case, where are all the graves at? There shouldn't be a place in this country you go to without stepping on sacred ground. We've been duped. We've been lied to, my people. Let me go down a little bit further. I want to read something else that I think is important, that I think the conscious community should be aware of in reference to this. This is talking about crossbreeding again in the Willie Lynch letters, okay? It says, crossbreeding niggers mean taking so many drops of good white blood and putting them into as many nigger women as possible, varying the drops by the various tone that you want, and then letting them breed with each other until the cycle of colors appear as you desire. Look what these white devils are talking. They're talking about creating different colored black folks. Then it goes a little bit further. What this means, I'm continuing the paragraph. What this means is this. Put the nigger and the horse in the breeding, or mix some asses and some good white blood with, and what do you get? You get a multiplicity of colors, of asses backwards, unusual niggers running tied backwards, ass long headed mules.
the one productive of itself, the other sterile. The one constant, the other dying. We keep niggers constant, for we may replace the mule for another tool. But both the mule and the nigger, mind you, this mule is somebody else. The mule and the nigger tied to each other, neither knowing whether the other came from, and neither productive for itself, nor without each other. These white devils. Now I'm going to read this last paragraph. It's under called controlled language. Like I said, I don't think a lot of people have read the Willie Lynch letters in its entirety. This part right here is titled controlled language. And it goes, crossbreeding completed. For the further severance from their original beginning, we must completely annihilate the mother tongue of both the nigger and the new mule, and institute a new language that involves the new life of work of both. But listen to what I just read. I'm going to read that again. Crossbreeding completed. For the further severance from their original beginning, we must completely annihilate the mother tongue of both nigger and the new mule, and institute a new language that involves a new life of work of both. Now, my question when I read this, the question that came into my mind was, who's the new mule? I know who the nigger is, but who is the new mule? Queen, we talked about this earlier, right, Queen?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Not only me and you spoke about this, I believe his brother Currington is here in the conference room because he was earlier. Brother Currington, are you there? Are you still there, Brother Currington? Okay, I don't know.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, about this new, a part of the Willie Lynch list, said the new mule, did we not?
Yes, we did, and that mule was the African.
Well, repeat that again because you was breaking up a little bit. Go ahead and say it again. Can I speak a little loud?
Oh, I said the new mule was the African.
The new mule is the African. Exactly. And that would mean that the Willie Lynch letters were drawn up. The process and the indoctrination of the Willie Lynch process itself was created for who, Queen?
It was created for the native.
It was created for the indigenous native people of North America. So the people who lost their memory, the people who lost their history, the people who lost their language, the people who lost who they are the indigenous black Native American. Us, me, my people, black people, my next door neighbors, the people in my community. My goodness. But yet look, these white devils, they got my people running around thinking that they come from Africans. Now don't get it twisted. They introduced some of that mule into the process of the breeding process. But well, look, when did they introduce it though? Well, they've already documented that history. African slaves did not come here until 1626. That's when it was legalized to bring African slaves to North America for sale. Now, what does this have to do with our topic? But we're not getting away from what this is about. This is about why the black woman can't keep a relationship. This process that they introduced, this process of chattel slavery, this process of breaking the black woman is what broke her relationship. It broke her relationship within her own psyche, within her own mind, within her own spirit, within her own relationship with herself. Because if she don't know who she is, if she can operate in her traditional position, if she cannot speak her traditional tongue, if she can't practice her traditional customs, that breaks the relationship because it breaks the circle and it fractures, it breaks the sacred circle of our people. Is that true, Queen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it does.
And that's what has happened to our people. So now that I've presented this information,
let's have a vibration on it. Anybody got anything they want to talk about? Queen, you got this article in front of you. Anything you want to read further? Because the controlling language, it goes a little bit deeper than what I just read. I only read a piece of it, the part that I thought was really important, which is how they use language, because these devils understood that language was important because your language tie you to your people. And I say this. Go ahead, Queen.
Well, what I was more closely paying attention to is how the people around, so they weren't familiar with whoever they were forcing them to reproduce with. And so they lost all connections with anyone. So, by doing this, they've actually numbed the people to where they're just going through life, not even anything.
And that's what they wanted. I mean, when you go up here where I was reading, where it was talking about this manipulation, and it was talking about the vacuum. Let me read that again. Let me get that right here. Let me read that right here. And it says, the experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring. What phenomenon is that? Them remembering where they came from. So he said, to counter this, they say what? For they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time, if it can touch some substantial original historical base. And they advise us that the best way to deal with the phenomena is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena or an illusion. And what is that illusion? Black folks think they from Africa. What is that illusion? Because they said, what is the whole point of this? He says, shave off their mental history. In other words, your knowledge of knowing who you are, your knowledge of knowing where you came from, your knowledge of knowing where your mother came from, your knowledge of knowing where your father came from, your knowledge of your land mass, where you located at, where you originally was, your ancestors were born, and where your ancestors cultivated and made a home for you. To shave off your mental history and create a multiplicity or phenomena or an illusion.
Yep.
And that's what they've done to our people. And like you said, as a result...
They have.
Go ahead, Queen.
So, and they have made it to a cycle. So when you try to find where you came from, you've got these fake DNA companies lying to you about where you came from. So you have to trace through your oral traditions, and those get lost. Part of my family's looking, they can find paperwork, but they can't seem to find the native tribe they came from, but they all know that they came from a certain native tribe.
And what's really important is the fact that that one great-grandmother of yours in your family, and she has a last name that connects her to a native tribe. That last name, which is a bird. I mean, that's why last names are very important. Last names are really important, because when the people were emancipated from slavery, they wanted to connect even though they had to change their names to adapt and to live, they wanted to change too much of their names, so they would rearrange letters and make it sound different, but yet at the same time it would still connect them to their native peoples. And so a lot of the black people did this. I mean, if they didn't do that, it would at least have a semblance of showing something that they were like freemen, showing that they were freed. So that and actually that term freeman, if I remember right, it came from white folks anyway. They didn't want to give those people who knew they were a part of the 5 civilized tribes and they were slaves within the civilized tribes. And these people who were slaves in the civilized tribes, they were natives. They were black Native Americans who lost their identity. I have real good reason to believe that these light straight-haired skinned Native American, even though they are brothers, they're literally an admixture of white blood. If not more than half or a quarter white European blood. Because we just got to reading the crossbreeding, how the white man right here, where it says crossbreeding niggers means taking so many drops of good white blood and putting them into as many nigger women as possible, varying the drops by the various tones that you want, and then letting them breed with each other until the cycle of colors appear as you desire. These devils have been experimenting with color breeding for years. Obviously, they had perfected it.
So they understood that, if my great-great-great-grandfather is a white man, his DNA and genetics, his genetic bloodline, his genetic blood being in that pool can manipulate color. They knew this. And so I also think they understood that one's genetic blood and one's genetic ancestor has a whole lot to do with one's mindset, whether if it's weak or strong. I think they came to some conclusion on this, because if you continue to read from where I just read from, when it talks about the breeding process, they talk about causing confusion amongst the people by mixing their white blood and knowing that their white blood is amongst the half-breeds and causing a diluted confusion where they pulling against one another, but yet at the same time, one can't do without the other. And I can read that too. That goes a little bit further down right here. But so these white devils ain't no joke. These white devils are that's what the term devil fits them perfectly. Yet my people want to run around believing that they got to call Jesus to protect them from the devil, and the devil is walking around driving a black and white car. The devil's walking around with the title politician, congressman, and senator. The devil is also the police. The devil sometimes is your supervisor and your manager on your job. They've created a system for them, by them, and we're still slaves within that system. Am I wrong by saying that, Queen? That's what it looked like to me.
That's what it appears to me.
Now the question is, how can we break this chain? I said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. It starts with our women. It starts with our mothers and our.
Well, and in the Willie Lynch letters, they told us how to break that chain by finding our history. Because once we have a hold of it, our minds will be set to rest, and we will be able to move on.
Exactly.
Of being able to connect to our true history, our true knowledge of selves, and reforming that circle and that bond.
Exactly. And you know what? It's the women that bring us here. It's the women that keeps us here. And we're here, I know, man, a part of our existence as a man, especially when you're a man and you create a family, as a man, your purpose become your family. That means your purpose become your woman and your children. So if it's a woman that brings us here, we come out of a woman's womb, we grow up and go back into a woman's womb. Yes, we do. We go back into her womb. That's where all that love and comfort come from. That's where all that security come from. That's where all that release and that stress release come from. You're trying to go back up off in the womb, just the very womb that you came out of. You're trying to go back in it, so to speak. So what I'm saying is that it's going to take that woman, which is the source of life, to regenerate life back into the community. And it starts with us knowing who we are. We got to stop looking over the Pacific Ocean, because them Negroes over there in Africa ain't looking for none of us to come back. If anything, those who do want us to come back is wanting us to come back because Africa is crippled by patriarchy, by European politics. Africa is crippled. It's so crippled that they have to go out of Africa to get educated. That's really sad. A country that at one time was the capital of the planet when it came to knowledge, wisdom, and insight, philosophy, and spirituality. Now the people have to leave that country to get educated. And so if anything, they want us over there to help rebuild their system. I've read too much information with black folks who moved over there and did not get the welcome that they thought they were going to get. And they might have got it at first when they first got there, but once they got comfortable and was there for a while, because they are not native to that country, they were not fully accepted. So they're trying to get in where they don't fit in. Now, you might say, well, the Native American community don't want us. Look, I'm going to say it again. These fools who are heads of these tribes today are not, they're half-breeds. They're mixed. They're mulattoes. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying it's wrong to be a mulatto. What I'm saying is that they don't have, they're operating in white supremacy. They're operating in the white side. The white side. I'm going to say it again. Not the right side, but the white side of their mindset. They have not shed and purged themselves of their European psychological ideology. And they're using that as a means to keep the money and to keep a reservation that is actually not benefiting the people at all. It's only benefiting those on the board. So basically, they're not even really Native American. They're white devils. They're white devils because their mind is white. Like Barack Obama. He's a white devil. You know, somebody said, no, he's a black devil. No, he's a white devil. He doesn't care about being black. He don't know what it is to be black. He was raised by his white grandfather, his white grandmama, and his white mama. That's who he was raised by. He was raised to be a white man. He doesn't know what it is to be black. He doesn't know how it feels to be black. The only thing he knows is is that he gets oppressed because of his color. He doesn't understand why, don't care why. So that's why he keep bending over, getting stuck in the butt. That's why he keep bending over and stroking the other. See, he giving and taking.
Actually, you know,
Go ahead.
hey, you know, he's a white black man.
Yeah, I know what he is, but I'm talking about his mindset. Ain't nowhere in the world he's a black mind. He's a black man without a black mind. That don't even make any sense.
Because he's white first.
That's my point. My point is that he's made a decision a long time ago that I can either embrace the black side of me or I can embrace the white side. Now, of course, he gonna tell somebody I'm not doing neither. But his actions and his behavior shows the decision that he's made. He's made a decision by the very people who...
Mother.
Go ahead.
I said he is what his mother is.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly what's going on. His mother's white. And so that's how he operates. He made that choice. He made that decision. That I want to live a comfortable life. Go ahead. Okay, well, I didn't hear you. You bounced out. But look, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it again. And, my time is running out. But Barack Obama, he made the decision. He don't give a damn about black people. We all know this. We have to give a damn about each other. And the key to our success, in my opinion, see, we live in a country that only cares about capitalism. You got so many black folks, and a lot of our brothers have allowed the streets and have allowed the white man's economic system to mold their minds. To mold their minds, which is affecting their heart and their spirit. So, so they look at it this way. It takes money to live. I got to do what I got to take to get that money. And look, the white devil constantly reminding you that you're a slave because every bill has a slave master on it. They claim they're going to put Harriet Tubman on a bill. Well, you know what? That have yet been to be seen yet. I've seen examples of it, but it's not in process. And it doesn't matter if they put her on a bill or not. That doesn't matter because who's on the dollar? Who's on the $5? Who's on the $20? Who's on the $100 bill? We already know who those faces are. So they're reminding you, and not only that, what is money printed on? It's printed on cotton. So they're reminding you of who you are, a slave in their system. Black men need to wake the hell up. We understand that we need money to survive, but you know what? We need our culture and we need our women to survive so that we can survive. And without a family, without peace in your life, without culture to bring that together full circle, you have a broken family because your circle is broken. And so the circle starts with the woman. It starts with every mother, every sister, every grandmother, every niece, every female, every black female. And for that circle to be reconnected, it's going to start with women realizing and embracing their true identity. And that's the Native American culture. Reclaiming our culture, reclaiming our identity from these white devils. These white devils who calling themselves chiefs of tribes and they got white minds, acting like white men, walking in white supremacy, claiming they're Native American. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, man. I'm going to raw and cut just like that. That's bullshit. Native American was not a white supremacist. White supremacy is from European white people. So, we got to reclaim our heritage, the bottom line. I'm going to continue to do my research, share it with my children, already passing that information to my son. Don't call yourself no African. You're not from Africa. You're not from Africa. Ain't no Africans in my family. So be raw and uncut just like that here on the Black Village Community Podcast. And you can join us every Sunday. It doesn't cost you a dime, just be your conscious time. You can join us at 855-445-9340. You can also chime in at 857-232-0155. And you need the conference key to get to the conference door to set the conference table of truth. And that is 947595. On that note, I got to go. Anybody got any last words to it? You know what? Before I go, I must play this brother Russell Means. Not every Native American who's light skinned with straight hair operates in white supremacy, and brother Russell Means was one of them. He was a part of the American Indian Movement organization. He was an activist for his people, and he was enveloped in his Native American culture. And he made it his mission up until he died in 2012 to make sure his people, the Lakota tribe, he was a part of the Lakota tribe, to make sure his people and that the world knew that the Native American people originally were a matriarchal people. And so that's all he talked about up until his death was matriarchy. That's all he spoke about was the history, the traditions, the customs of matriarchy. And he spoke about it in contrast to patriarchy, showing you the difference between patriarchy and matriarchy. And he would tell you straight up that patriarchy is the white man's way. So before I end my show, I am going to play Brother Russell Means, and then we should conclude this. So let me play this right quick, and then I shall conclude with ending my show to the next Delicious Black Sunday. So let me do this.
I'm a Takwape. Better watch day. Hello, my relatives. Today is a good day. Last week and the week before, I talked about matriarchy, the givers of life, and we're the takers of life, we men. So what we want to talk about now is some of the beauties of the female. Now, we know, as I mentioned continuously, the woman can stand more pain, has more endurance, and is stronger than a man. Not in lifting weights, but in character, strength of character. But she's also the only living being, get this, the only living being on earth that is purified naturally with the rhythms of the universe. Get that. She's purified naturally with the rhythms of the universe. Wow. It gives me chills. The only living being that's purified after every 28 days. By the way, that's the moon cycle. That's how many ribs the buffalo has. That's the basis of the Aztec and Mayan calendars, the most accurate calendars on Earth. Because they're based on the universe, just like the female. Now, every female knows that when they live in close proximity with one another, their rhythm of purification coincides, becomes one. And when they live in a small village, the same thing, cycle happens. That's in indigenous villages the world over. Europe was that way until the Holy Roman Empire changed it. Now you should know this, especially you women. But when the Holy Roman Empire invaded the barbarians to the north, we found out that what they told the villagers, see, the women in their time of purification would honor that and leave the home and go over to an abode or a place where they would all get together, and the young girls would wait on them for the 4 days or 5, however long their purification cycle takes. And the men were left and had to take care of everything, take care of the small children, cook, clean, feed, be responsible. Wow. And so when the Holy Roman Church came in with their legions and their missionaries, the missionaries told the men, look at those women over there, they're witches. They're over there brewing witchcraft. And then when they come back, they put it in your food, and that's how they dominate you. You have to dominate them, Here's the Bible that says you're supposed to dominate the earth. This is historical fact. Check it out. I put it very bluntly, but it can be put academically also, so find it out. The main point I'm trying to make, of course, is the woman is purified by the great mystery, by God, by the whatever name you wish. The great mystery. But when they're in tune with their guess what else they get in rhythm with? The moon, the full moon. Hence you have that sexist and racist Halloween that denigrates women. That's where it all started. That's how you got Halloween, from what the Holy Roman Catholic Church did in Europe. It's an anti-woman, anti-matriarchal holiday that you all celebrate. Oh, give me a break. Now, the beauty of being purified naturally. We men aren't purified naturally. Maybe that's why we resort to the club. We're not pure. So what do indigenous men do? We try to find a balance with the female. We try to find that balance.
There we go. That's Brother Russell Means. I had some issues trying to bring that track up. I had the wrong track sitting in there. I had to go find the track. I want to play that track before I go off the air today. But that's Brother Russell Means. May he rest in peace. He's with our ancestors. But he made it a point to wake up the people, wake up his people, to make sure his people embraced matriarchy, to honor and to respect the women. And that's a circle and a cycle that can regenerate and recreate women back into that sacred circle of relationships. And like I said, for our sisters to be sisters and mothers, queen mothers, for our sisters to be the women that they should be, to take the place that they're supposed to take in the position they're supposed to have within the family, within the community. These women have to rebuild and regenerate their relationships again. As it stands right now, women are in broken relationships with each other, in broken relationships with their mothers, in broken relationships with one another. And as a result, how you gonna take a broken person and bring them together with a man who also is broken? You got two broken people. That's going to create a broken family. And so we have to repair this by our women repairing themselves. And that's the whole point of me playing Russell Means. I mean, that's a Native American man who was talking about matriarchy, a Native American brother who understood what it meant to honor women and for women to honor themselves. I mean, for him, come on, man, that's a beautiful thing. That's all I can say. That's all I can mention is that's a beautiful thing. And so on that note, Queen, you got any last words you want to say before we head out here?
Information that you shared, and that I hope that our people who are listening to our show and talking to their history, to break this cycle, to reconnect with their sisters, their mothers, their grandmothers.
I agree. Yes, that's what it's all about. Brother Carlton, anything you want to say before we head out?
Well, just say that this was a good show, and that I hope the listeners look up this Willie Litch letter, because you study it, and I do mean study it.
Yes.
Talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have a lot of people have read the Willie Lynch letters through the eyes of other people, instead of researching it for themselves. You feel me? And as a result, I don't think people have they have not completely studied it and read it. And I don't think that you got, like I said, there's a group of house Negroes out there who don't want our people to know the truth about the Willie Lynch letters. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I've just discovered that there's a part of the letter that tells on itself. It tells on itself that the Willie Lynch letters, the indoctrination of the Willie Lynch process, was aimed at and for the Native American black woman. It was not for Africans. That was I mean, come on, that makes sense if you think about it. If those Africans who did come, 90% of that male cargo was men. So they were looking for African men to bring over and to make with the Native American populace over here. So how was it aimed at the woman? How was it aimed at the man? When you read the Willie Lynch letters that I was talking about, he says to focus your attention on the female and the offspring, the children. So they weren't even looking at the adult male. They said kill him if necessary in front of her. They weren't even worried about him. They were worried about that woman. She was their economic source. And it was not an African woman, because most of the women the African women who did come were very small in number. Very small. As a matter of fact, I believe I read some information where like 90% of the cargo was male, only 10% was women and children. So they actually had already had a means that they already worked out, and that was the Native American female populace that they had focused on, who they already had on plantations, already had active, had already been broken and raped, and had pillaged and had broken these women's spirits. So black folks need to wake the hell up. So on that note, I gotta go. I'll be back. I will be black as always here at the Black Village Community Podcast, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut. I ask everybody to forgive me for today's podcast. I'm pretty sure you you heard me coming in and out, and my track got messed up. I had the wrong track in my board, and then my mic was cut off, and so I'm going to edit my show and upload it so it can sound much better. Process I still like to do. I will continue to do a live show every Sunday here on the Black Village Podcast at 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in the West Coast. And on that note, I gotta go. So as always, and as I always say, may the Great Mother bring us together in the love of her peace and under her wing. And so I shall go out on today's show playing Pharaoh Monarch from his titled album, War. And I shall play that in my show on that note. So, as I always say, peace, love, and I love chicken, so love, peace, and peace, love, and chicken grease. So, that's why I'm messing up. Tell me, but I bet my show, man. I still got it going on. It's all gravy and potatoes. Love, peace, and chicken grease. I gotta go. I'm out of here. Peace.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still standing. Bodies to claim. Never been a trigger man. Crack never pedaled that. Opposite a jigger man. Double my expectancy. Can you believe it? Look, no bullet wounds, not paraplegic. Still standing like the Pledge of Allegiance. Moves made both emotional and strategic. My heart disintegrated in a million pieces. Listen, that's life. Deal with it. Press reset. Download pain. Write a thesis. Perform for millions, Brazilian visas, transcontinental, indigenous divas that speak multiple languages for unspeakable reasons. And still there are places that I've never been, like the Statue of Liberty, my knees will never bend. Except for when I'm speaking to God, it feels like halftime, I'ma reach for the stars and still standing. Still standing. I'm standing.
helped me grow, and it helped me know which way to go and which way to not go. And I'm so grateful. Yeah, I'm so grateful. 'Cause I'm still standing. I'm still standing. I'm still standing. I'm still standing.